Lieutenant Colonel George Bivens, Deputy Commissioner of Operations for the Pennsylvania State Police. Over my right shoulder is Franklin County District Attorney Ian Brink. It's our goal today to discuss a critical incident which occurred yesterday in Franklin County involving the Pennsylvania State Police. I will attempt to give a very high-level briefing of the order of events. I will attempt to give an update on the condition of our two troopers. I will then turn it over to Lieutenant Colonel Bivens, who will give us an operational rundown of where we are in the investigation, and then he will turn it over to District Attorney Brink, the Chief Law Enforcement Officer in Franklin County. So yesterday's incident began at approximately 6:15 p.m., where a report of retail theft occurred at Dick's Sporting Goods, located at 1320 Lincoln Highway East in Guilford Township, Franklin County. A description of the actors and the vehicle was broadcast as a result, a gold Chevrolet Express van. A short time later, on Interstate 81, multiple troopers were able to identify the vehicle and pursue it. There were two separate attempts to deploy stop sticks in that pursuit, or tire deflation devices. The second attempt was successful on the Chevy van, and that occurred in the area of Exit 3 on Interstate 81 southbound. The incident ended on the off-ramp of Interstate 81, Exit 3, basically right in the grassy area at the bottom of the ramp. Inside of the Chevy Express van were one driver and two female occupants. Troopers attempted to conduct a felony car stop, and as a result, there was a fierce gunfight that occurred, during which time two of our troopers were shot. The first trooper who was shot is Trooper Thomas Pack, P-A-C-K. He is 23 years of age. He enlisted in the Pennsylvania State Police in June of 2024. The second trooper who was shot was Trooper Lucas Amorose, A-M-A-R-O-S-E, age 31. He enlisted in 2017. Trooper Amorose is married. As a result of their injuries, they were life-flighted to WellSpan York Hospital. I can confirm that Trooper Pack was shot multiple times. I can confirm that Trooper Amorose was also shot multiple times. Their conditions: Trooper Pack at this hour has been released, continues to recover at home. Trooper Amorose was listed overnight in critical but stable condition. He had multiple hours of additional surgery today. His condition currently has been upgraded to serious, but he continues to recover at WellSpan York coming out of that most recent procedure. A word about the incident itself. In the immediate aftermath, from a training perspective, the use of tourniquets, here again, we believe, was a critical piece in our troopers surviving. The use of ballistic trauma first aid kits was also critical, and I cannot say enough about the way that our two troopers who were struck, but additional troopers who were involved and others who arrived at the scene immediately thereafter, how that was able to preserve the life of our two troopers. The actor, as we released last evening and we'll hear more about shortly, was killed as a result of this gunfight. Several things that I have to mention. To the first responders who were there for us, to our law enforcement partners, to the flight crews that flew our troopers to WellSpan York, to the medical professionals, doctors, nurses, everyone at WellSpan York who helped save our people, the Pennsylvania State Troopers Association, and even members of the public, to include a Good Samaritan who was an off-duty doctor who stopped in the immediate aftermath of this gunfight to help preserve some first aid for our people. We cannot say thank you enough. It is not lost on me, as I stand here today, that since becoming the Commissioner of the State Police in January of 2023, these two troopers represent the 7th and 8th troopers shot in those intervening 34 months. Additionally, since August 7th across Pennsylvania, they represent the 8th 109th law enforcement officers who have been shot across this Commonwealth. I would lastly, before I turn it over to Lieutenant Colonel Bivens, like to ask you for the continued thoughts and prayers of not only our troopers, but their families, their significant others, spouse, extended family. It's a terribly traumatic event. I can tell you that last night I spoke to both of them. They were conscious, in very good spirits, and I can't say enough about how they performed during this incident, but also how their fellow troopers and our law enforcement partners performed. It's with a great sense of pride that I say that, and it's with a great sense of thankfulness that we are not here planning 2 line-of-duty funerals. Lastly, before I turn it over to Lieutenant Colonel Bivens, the procedural posture of where we are is that we're conducting a joint investigation with the Franklin County District Attorney's Office and the PSP Major Case Team. It's within the authority of the Chief Law Enforcement Officer in District Attorney Brink to conduct a full, fair, competent, and thorough investigation into this matter. And I will now turn it over to Lieutenant Colonel Bivens to give you an operational rundown, and then he will turn it over to District Attorney Brink. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Colonel. Good afternoon. So some additional details. The Colonel has described for you the theft that occurred and the pursuit after the vehicle was spotted on Interstate 81. There were numerous attempts to bring that pursuit to a halt. The attempts involving spike strips, the first one, as he said, was unsuccessful. The second one was successful. The vehicle went off of the ramp at exit 3 on 81 southbound into the grass area adjacent to the off-ramp. When it went into that grass area, it came to a stop. Troopers positioned their vehicles tactically in an effort to make sure that the vehicle didn't continue any further, and also in an effort to take the individuals within that van into custody. There was an effort, I should say, to have those individuals come out of the van and comply with law enforcement orders so that they could be taken into custody peacefully. Based on those commands that were given, 2 of the occupants, first, Amir Lauren Swift, and we have, if we haven't already, we will pass out information about each of these subjects so that you'll have it. She's 21, from Baltimore, Maryland, and her her current criminal charges are included on that sheet that we have provided you. She complied and came out of the vehicle. A second suspect, Gianni Jada McGowan, also 21, of Baltimore, complied and came out of the vehicle. A third subject, who we now know is Lamar Foy, he was 31, from Baltimore, Maryland as well, did not comply. Troopers attempted to give commands. They broke the driver's window out of the vehicle in an attempt to get access to him. He began firing on troopers from within the van, and as troopers positioned themselves to places of cover behind their vehicles and adjacent to their vehicles, he actually ran out the side door of the van and charged those troopers in an effort to shoot them, and continued firing at them as he ran toward them. Troopers exchanged gunfire with him. He actually came around one side of one of the patrol vehicles and then started to go around the front and the other side of that vehicle in an effort to chase those troopers down. 2 of the troopers were seriously wounded. I will tell you that, having watched the video, I'm incredibly proud of those troopers. They stayed in the fight, in spite of both of them having significant, serious wounds. They stayed in the fight until the threat was neutralized. The third trooper, fortunately, was not wounded. He also, of course, was in the fight and did a heroic job, engaged the subject, and as the subject moved past the police vehicles and over in the direction of Route 11, or the Molly Pitcher Highway, the third trooper was in fact able to put the subject down He was checked and was ultimately found to be deceased. There are a number of investigative steps that have been taken. We have served numerous search warrants to include on the van that was involved in this incident. There was a large quantity of illegal drugs, paraphernalia, and cash found within that van. There was stolen merchandise found within that van. And so there are a lot of things that will continue to be investigated as we go forward. We do not believe that this crime was committed in an isolated manner, but instead was likely part of a larger crime pattern, and that remains the subject of investigation going forward. There are a number of investigative steps that remain to be done in the shooting investigation itself. However, the vast majority of the steps needed to ensure we have a good understanding of what occurred there have already been taken. There was significant video footage from many different angles that was able to be reviewed as part of this investigation, and again gave us a great insight as to what occurred there. There are additional analyses that will be done, and if there is anything significant to report as a result of that ongoing investigation, we will release that at some point in the future. When we're done here, we'll open this up to questions in a few minutes, but first, the district attorney would like to say some words here about his findings in the matter. Sir.
Thank you. First off, thank you everybody for coming. My name is Ian Brink. I am the Franklin County District Attorney. I would like to thank Commissioner Paris and Lieutenant Colonel Bevins from the State Police. Also, I don't know, he made it over there, my Chief Detective Scott Mummert, who assisted me by going out on the scene last night. And also I have from the coroner's office, our former elected coroner, now just working there, Jeff Connor, who assisted as well. So we are here to discuss the fatal shooting of Lamar Foy last night in Antrim Township, Franklin County. As District Attorney, my role is to review any use of force by law enforcement in Franklin County and to make a determination on that use of force. And that's what I'm going to be discussing today. I wanted to give this update in person at this time because we don't get many of these sorts of incidences in Franklin County. This is fairly unique here. So I wanted to be able to make everybody aware of what we're doing and why we're doing it. Between last night and today, investigators from the State Police, the coroner's office, and my office have worked together to gather the video evidence that's been referenced, process the scene, determine the chain and sequences of events that led to the police response that ultimately resulting in the shooting death of Mr. Foy. I personally, along with members of my office, reviewed the footage from body cameras and MVRs. Specifically, my first Chief Deputy District Attorney, Jonathan Faust, my Chief Deputy District Attorney, Enoch Jones, again, Scott Mummert, my Chief County Detective, and Chief County Detective Todd Baker from my office all went to the scene last night to have a better understanding of what was going on and to answer any questions or to assist the State Police as they're involved in their investigation. My staff kept me in constant contact and relayed all relevant facts as they learned them to me. In reviewing all of the known facts that PSP has relayed to you today related to what was seen on the video and the other evidence collected at the scene, I am confident that the troopers' use of force in this case was 100% justified. There's no question in my mind. The video and evidence in this case is clear and decisive. Foy fired a handgun at law enforcement officers multiple times, which resulted in 2 troopers getting struck multiple times. There's no question about that fact. Under the definition of justification in the law, the shooting death by a law enforcement officer was absolutely necessary in order for the troopers to neutralize the threat and to protect themselves and others from potential serious bodily injury or death. Again, the use of force in this case was not just justified, as all the law requires, it was absolutely necessary. Foy's intent was clear by his actions. He posed an extreme threat of deadly force to all members of the law enforcement that were on scene and potentially innocent civilians in the neighborhood, justifying law enforcement's use of deadly force against him. This incident again highlights the unbelievable important role that police officers play in our society. The absolute brave nature of the actions that took place are something that we should be proud of as a society and a community. Watching the video of what these officers did when a gunman not further away from me to you is shooting at them was absolutely incredible. And then the response of their other law enforcement officers when they're injured and coming to their aid again was amazing. It was one of the most amazing videos I've ever seen. And these are troopers that I see in court and talk to every day. I know them personally. And when you start watching these videos, it starts to make you sick, because all the rest of us don't go to work under those circumstances, but these officers choose to do that and put their lives on the line for us. So we must continue to support the police and remember to appreciate that fact that they put their lives on their line for us every single day. Thank you. If there's any questions, we'll obviously keep in mind this is an ongoing investigation, so there's very little that we'll ultimately be able to answer, but we'll give it a shot and see where it goes. Anybody?
Assistant here for WGAL.
Yes.
Will body-worn camera footage be released at any point in the future?
Not at this time, as long as the investigation's going on. No.
Okay. And was it bullets from Foy's gun that hit the troopers?
Yes.
Yes. And what was the firearm that he was using?
It was a .40 caliber, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, .40 caliber. Yes. Yeah. So he came to armed ready to do some serious damage.
And sir, if I might,
Yes, absolutely.
and along those lines, that firearm that he was using was stolen, had been stolen September 29th in Maryland, but was a .40 caliber handgun and fully loaded.
Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
You said that you're 100% confident the use of deadly force. Is that your official conclusion?
It is.
Okay. And
Yep, go ahead.
I'm Sean Hardy. I'm from the Gannett newspapers in Franklin County. So there were 3 primary troopers on scene
Correct.
when the gunfight took place.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay.
I'm Amber, also with Gannett newspapers. Were there any pedestrians, motorists at risk of, getting in crossfire or, involved in any way?
It's a little, there were obviously people driving around in the area. It was during, it was not dark out at that point in time. There's always the possibility that that could have occurred, correct?
Were
So,
businesses locked down in the area?
No, ma'am, there was no time to lock those down. This all played out in seconds, literally, as the vehicle came down the ramp, went into the grass, and within moments, there was an exchange of gunfire. It all played out in less than probably a minute or a minute and a half.
And that was that was at what time? I know 6:14 was the call. How many minutes passed before?
It would have been about 6:24, I believe. It was about the time of the incident there.
And where were the 2 females at the time the shooting was taking place?
One was on the ground in the grass outside of the van. The other one was just exiting the door when it started. And then she continued out and came into the grass.
So rather than try running or during the gunfire itself?
Both of them did initially, they were complying, but both initially ran, I believe for their own safety, from the shooting that was coming from within the van. They ran a short distance and surrendered immediately after the shooting stopped.
yeah, we're going to wrap it up. That's going to be all the questions. Thank you very much for coming. We very much appreciate it. And again, I appreciate law enforcement's response, and keep that in mind regarding law enforcement and what they have to do every day. Thank you.